When are other people coming on then?
I think right now. I think we're live.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's go. Hey everybody, my name's Alex Sussman, and I'm here from Coast. Today we're going to talk about breaking up with expense reports. I'm a lead account manager here. I've been in the payments industry for about 15 years, with Coast for about 3.5. And I'm joined by Jen Sorensen. She's one of our favorite customers. She's an accounting and business manager at First Impression Ironworks. She's been using Coast for about a year now, I'd say.
Yeah,
Um, Sound right? Yeah.
that's about right.
And we're going to have a session here where we'll hear from Jen on some of her experiences, and some lessons she's learned, both before Coast, and how she's using Coast for her business to help save her time, and improve her day to day. So today we're going to start with the expense report trap. Um, what's everybody doing for expense reports? How are we collecting these receipts? How are we coding expenses? What does that look like in terms of the administrative time that you have to spend every day, maybe every week, every month, to take care of that? And what's this look like with Coast? How do we change this to manage expenses in real time? We'll chat with Jen. We'll take you through a live demo of what this looks like in Coast, both for your employees and for you. And then we'll finish it up with a Q&A. So I know there are a good amount of folks on here that do use Coast today, so I'll keep this pretty brief. Coast it's not just a fuel card, right? So what we've done is created a Visa card platform that incorporates the best of a fuel card with the best of a corporate card, with expense management and the ability for your employees to submit their expenses and for you to code your expenses and work with your accounting system all into one nice, easy to use platform. For folks that are using us for everything, it's nice to be able to see their full picture of expenses and spend in one pane of glass. And we've done polls with our customers. We find that companies that are doing this and simplifying their accounting process close their books an average of 1.5 days faster. And from what I hear, those are probably their least favorite 1.5 days at the end of the month that we help them with. So what's the expense report trap? And why do we do expense reports? I think we all know this. We need to have control over employee spend, make sure that they're following policies. We want to make sure that everything that's been spent is approved by their employees, which is why some companies don't even give their employees access to cards or to spend in the first place. We want to understand where the money goes, and the faster we can understand that, the better. There are also some audit requirements, and so you have to keep these receipts, you have to keep these files ready back for several years, just in case you do need to go through an audit, which is something that Coast actually does make it very easy to do. Through our research, 53% of construction trades and transportation business are using expense reports. Other folks don't have reports, but they're keeping receipts and managing it a little bit more manually. So what are folks doing today? Really two scenarios that we hear about. The first one, employees are allowed to make purchases. So you get a company credit card, maybe it's just the supervisors or the management. The employee's going to keep the receipt. Sometimes they'll write down on that receipt, what's it for, what I buy, was this for a particular job. This will go into an expense report. It could be in Excel, it could be through other software that you're paying for. And then there's a review process at the end. A lot of times though, employees don't get their own card. And we hear this all the time, that there's an office card that's shared. And so if somebody needs to buy something, they get the office card, they run out, they buy what they need to buy, and then they come back and give the card back with the receipt. Sometimes this works, but sometimes it's really difficult to understand at the end of the month who bought what, who had the card, where it is, and you really don't want to have that card number out there. It's the same card number you're giving everybody on that piece of plastic. and you really don't have a whole lot of control over what happens with that if it's ever stolen or misused. So there's a lot of costs that come with this, which you all know a lot of it is time. It's time for your employees, it's time for you, chasing down receipts, at the end of the month, finding out what's missing and then going after those people. We hear from companies that 90% compliance is pretty good, but with Coast, our goal is to get you to 100% here. There's a lot of manual data entry, a lot of checking off of credit card statements, making sure that everything's there, and manually entering it into your accounting system as well. Also, gaps in the records. For most folks, this is a monthly process. So for that entire month, you don't really have visibility into where your money is going, right? All that's kind of discovered at the end of the month, which oftentimes it comes as a surprise. There's also missing data, again, like going back to employees, going out to the folks actually spending to try and track all this stuff down. It takes forever. It distracts you from the work that you want to be doing. There's a lot of manual process around this, which I know Jen can definitely speak to. And for other companies, you're also reimbursing. So that there's a third scenario, obviously, where nobody gets a card and everyone's getting reimbursed. I've heard from companies that have switched from reimbursement, if anyone's doing this, over to a company credit card, that their expenses have gone down by 15%, because when employees earn points on spending for the company and they know they're getting reimbursed, they're not always going for the cheapest option or the most economical option. So by moving over to that company card in the first place, a lot of companies realize savings just from that alone. Not to mention, employees don't love waiting to be reimbursed, funding the company essentially themselves. So let's turn it over to Jen. How's it going, Jen?
Yeah, it's going great. So I am Jennifer Sorensen with First Impression Ironworks, and my journey started because I deal with about 165 employees. We do have about 15 of those that do get company cards. We manufacture custom iron doors, gates. Everything starts out as raw steel and it's custom made in-house. And so we've got people that are out in the field doing jobs for builders, building railings on apartment buildings, or I've got our logistics guys, or needing just random parts, or we've got our purchasing, we have marketing. There's so many areas that we need credit cards for. So I've got probably 15 to 20 employees that have credit cards, and my always dilemma was that they weren't turning in their receipts, and I was chasing them down at the end of the month. And then if they did turn in a receipt, it didn't tell me what the receipt was for. So then I was going on to Home Depot website, looking up descriptions of products, things like that, trying to figure it out, or chasing them down for a description. We also have 4 locations, so if we had repairs done at a location, I would need to know what location was that repair done. And so I spent anywhere from 4 to 6 hours just entering the information. I mean, our monthly spend is about $250,000 in credit card transactions, and some of those could be anywhere from $5 to $10,000. It really just depends. So going through every receipt every month was, taking about 4 to 6 hours to get that credit card reconciled. So now I was presented with Coast, and I was told that, we didn't have to just use it as a gas card. You could use it as a regular card, and that's the only reason I needed it, was for a regular card. And for the employees to be able to just take a picture of their receipt now in the app and upload the copy of the receipt and then type in a memo, that is such a time saver. And I have cut it down to where I'm only spending maybe 2 hours entering everything, because it is still a lot of transactions, and I'm not chasing anybody down anymore, which is wonderful. So that is, and then now with getting integration, that's going to be even more wonderful because that's probably going to save even more time just getting it straight from Coast to QuickBooks. So I won't need to spend even that much time doing it anymore. But it's been a huge time saver. Addressed it with, the owner and my manager and everything on switching over to the Coast card. We had a prior card at that time. And they pretty much just told me that as long as I was still getting the same percentage cash back and the same incentives, why not try it if it's going to save time? And so, I mean, time is money. And it definitely saves me a lot of time. The guys in the field love it because oftentimes I'd say I'm missing this receipt and they would find it in their laundry or they would find it crumbled in their wallet or they lost it. So that poses even more problems.
How many receipts would you say you were getting? Like, what was compliance like with getting everything in before?
Oh, I mean, I would have hundreds of receipts. I mean, I probably would deal with I'd say if I had to count them, 300 receipts minimum, and that's not even including marketing because marketing, a lot of them are just emailed to me. The other thing with Coast, with our marketing, for those of you that are on, I'm not sure how much you deal with marketing, but we had a situation where we had one card being used for all of our marketing vendors, Facebook, Reach Local, you name it. We have probably 20 different vendors that we use for marketing. And we had a situation where one of them was compromised and we had to change that credit card number on every single one of those vendors. Well, now with the virtual cards, I was able to just create one virtual card for Facebook, one virtual card for Reach Local, one for Pinterest. And so if one gets compromised, I just click stop that card, reissue a new virtual card. They can plug in the data and it doesn't compromise every single vendor. So that is just brilliant right there. That has saved us so much headache. But yeah, sifting through and you've got little receipts, you got big receipts, you got medium receipts, you got receipts that have been stepped on or went through the washer and dryer. And so yeah, ones that are faded and you can't read them. So there's so many benefits to them just taking a picture, uploading it, and then they can toss the receipt if they want. I don't need the physical receipt because now everything's uploaded. The other time saver on this is at the end of the year when you get your audits and they say we need a copy of this receipt. Now I'm not having to go to a file cabinet, sift through 300 receipts of that month trying to find that one tiny receipt. I can just go to Coast, locate it, whoever the purchase was by, locate it, and send them a copy. It's so quick.
So this is a bit of a loaded question because I know this was a hurdle that you had to go get over. But sometimes the folks who this impacts the most are not the same ones that can come on and like make the change for their company. There's a couple levels of approval they had to go through. So could you tell us a little bit about what happened when you were looking to make the change here?
So I am kind of in a unique situation. My company, it's rather, small. We're kind of really about family and we just all really work together really well. And so for me, I went to my manager and my manager is kind of like, oh, well, we don't really need to change anything. Everything's, if it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing. And so I went to the owner and he said, well, what are they offering us? And so I told him, same benefits, things like this. And he's like, okay, well, how's this going to benefit the company? And so I, told him how I'm losing receipts. People aren't turning in receipts. I'm chasing people down. It does extend the period of time when you're closing end of month because now I'm done with everything and now I'm still waiting for these guys to turn in receipts. So now I'm extended another day or two. And So I talked about that benefit and then the time it's going to save me to enter everything into QuickBooks. And so he's like, well, if that's the case, I don't see a problem with just go talk to your boss again and let him know. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I just did it. I signed us up, got it done. I handed him his credit card when I got it signed up, and he thought it was the greatest thing on the planet. So once I explained it to him, and he didn't even remember that he was kind of poo-pooing on it before. But so and now he loves it. And now we actually we had bought another company in Texas. And so he actually is the person that went and signed up with Coast for that company. So he loves the card, and it's really nice because you can do the personalized cards if you have an owner who wants his name on it, and or we have a lot of people that travel and they need a name on it. I can get a personalized card with their actual name on it. But our guys out in the field, they don't really need their name on a card. They're just running into Home Depot, swiping, things like that. So and then the other thing that was nice is you don't have to wait to order a card and wait 7 to 10 days for it to come in the mail with all of the regular cards. I can send an email and say, can you please send me, I can go onto the app and I can say order 20 cards, and I get 20 cards sent to me. And then when I need to activate one, I just go into Coast and activate it, hand it to the person, it's done. They're set up. So the cards aren't active until you set up that active card, which is wonderful also.
Well, thanks, Jen. I really appreciate you joining and sharing some of your experience here. We're going to go through a demo in a little bit, and I might call you out and ask you for some feedback.
Okay, sure.
Cool. All right, well, let's get the slides back up, and then we'll go into a demo from there. All right. Oh, got to get back to where we were here. Okay, so kind of what Jen was talking about here, what's this look like in Coast? So we have a different way of doing this. From the beginning, we have an expense policy for employees that's built into the system. You decide how much each individual group of people can spend and where. So you might have a group of supervisors that are allowed to go to hardware stores and spend up to $500 a month without approval. Above that, they need approval. We can collect receipts with details right at the moment of purchase. So the second that person swipes the card and the transaction goes through, our app pops up on their phone and asks them for all the details that you need specific to your company. So the picture of the receipt, if you want a memo, if you want class codes or anything coming from your accounting system directly, we can have them fill that out from drop downs right in the app. We can also do this via text message for those folks that don't have apps on their phone. Lets you review the transactions in real time. So the second somebody puts that receipt in, they add the details there, you can see that as an administrator of the program. We're also, to Jen's point, going to remind these folks for you so that you're not chasing them looking for this stuff. They'll get constant reminders to add the receipts and to fill out the information that you require. It lets you do all your reconciliation before the month end. So at the end of the month, you're not spending that time trying to collect everything and put it together. It's already done. You can do this every day if you'd like, bit by bit, do it once a week. It's up to you. So when you're setting your expense policy, we have a whole bunch of different rules. And if you're using us for fuel, you've seen this in the policy settings where you can set transaction limits, category limits, the type of store that they can use the cards at. And you can do this by different group. So maybe the owner can spend wherever they want without any sort of limit. But if you're a technician, you can only go to a hardware store and spend up to a specific amount. And then you decide what you want to collect. So in our app or through the message, and I'll show you this in just a minute, you decide what to collect from the employees. We can always collect a receipt and a memo, but if your company needs job codes, we can have your job codes brought into Coast and give your employees a list to select from. If there's any other coding that you need, we can do that as well. It's totally customizable. And again, we're going to remind these folks so that you don't have to. We also have approval workflows. So maybe you don't want to allow your employees to spend anything. Maybe you use us for fuel, and the only time someone should be able to buy something would be that situation where they're asking to borrow a card from the office or where you want to approve it. And so employees are able to request approval for transactions that are outside of their policy. And that way you know what's being purchased before it's purchased, and they can submit all the information back to you really easily. They're not carrying the card and the receipt back to the office to turn in. They're doing it right on their phone, just like everybody else, but you control how they spend and when they're able to spend. So you can see from all this, it's going to speed up your month-end process. You may not even have a month-end process, frankly, because you can do this bit by bit as the expenses come in throughout the month. We make it simple, so your employees can code what you allow them to see in the app. But there's some things like GL codes that maybe you don't want to expose to your employees, but you do want to have it in Coast so that you can code it, and then you can export it into your accounting system, and we'll bring those codes in for you to be able to do that. And we can even automate a lot of that within Coast. So if every time a certain employee goes to a hardware store, or if it's for a specific job, it should be coded to an accounting category, and you know it's going to be that same case going forward. Coast can automate that coding. So you tell us in the portal how you want that automated for that type of transaction, and we'll automatically fill in the accounting category or whatever other fields you want filled out. So that when you come in, employees have filled in their piece, Coast has automatically filled in the rest for you, and there's not that much for you to do other than review everything and take a look and make sure it looks good before pushing it over into your accounting system. Down at the bottom right here, we have a couple of accounting systems listed. These are just systems that our companies that are using Coast have and are using us with. We have direct integrations, meaning a seamless API integration with some accounting systems like QuickBooks, NetSuite, Sage Intacct. But you can really use us with anything, and we can customize our product inside of Coast for your accounting system by adding the fields that you need to collect and adding the specific options and drop downs for your employees to pick from, so that it's really easy to export straight from Coast over to your accounting system. Jen mentioned too, you can pay suppliers here with virtual cards inside of Coast. There's no cost to have a virtual card. You can create, destroy as many as you like. A lot of folks use them for subscriptions and vendor payments, so that you're not sharing that office card, the same card number with every single supplier. And you can cut them off whenever you need, set limits on those specifically for specific purchases. So if you're buying something that costs $9,002, you can create a virtual card for that exact amount. Once it's been spent, that card can never be used again. All right, so let's take a quick look at a demo, and I'll show you what this looks like. First, from the employee's perspective. So I'm going to share my phone app and my Coast app so you can see what it looks like to submit an expense for an employee. Okay. All right. So hopefully everyone can see my phone here. When an employee comes into the app here, they're going to see all the purchases they've made. And if you've required something that they haven't submitted, one, it'll get called out here so you can see Smith's Food and Drug. I forgot to submit my description. But it'll also be called out here in the missing info section. So I'm going to get proactive notifications from Coast to fill this out if I haven't done it. But I can also come into my app anytime and do it myself. So my company asked for a couple of things. They want a receipt, and it looks like I did submit the receipt, but I forgot to add a description, a cost center, and a job code. So all I need to do in here is add my description. That's all that's required. But if I have a job code, I can also fill that out. It'll bring in the list, and all I need to do is start typing. This was for Eagle Stadium repair. It's a little broken down. And fill that out, and now you can see it's done and completed. And from my admin's perspective, they'll see this information instantly in the Coast portal. So it's really simple. Honestly, it doesn't take that long to show how it works. It's very easy for an employee to go in, add the information that you need. It's all customizable. So again, you can give them whatever fields you'd like to see. And then all of that comes directly into Coast for you to view in real time. Now let's take a look and see what this looks like inside of Coast. So what's your view? That's the employee's view. What do you see? So when you come into Coast, a lot of the folks here will be living in this accounting section of Coast. The first place I'll go here is looking at the setup. So setup is very simple. Getting your accounting system set up. We have a couple of integrations I mentioned that are live through an API, but if you're looking for an accounting system that we don't have an API connection with, you can create it here in Coast very quickly through our custom exports function. From here, once you connect your accounting system or set up that export that you want to see, you decide what fields you want to collect inside of Coast. What fields do you want to use? And you can see we've connected a couple accounting systems here and build ops as well. So there are some that we automatically bring in. For example, from QuickBooks, all these fields and every entry there for a drop-down list will come over from QuickBooks Online automatically for your employees to be able to pick from or for you to use inside of Coast. You don't need to use everything. You can see these are all turned on or toggled on inside of Coast, but we can toggle off fields here if there are things in QuickBooks or in your accounting system that you don't need to use. From there, once you've got your fields in, you're going to decide what to collect from employees. So all this exists within Coast, but you don't need your employees to see everything. And even within that, you may not want every employee to be asked for the same information. So you decide what these rules are going to be. And we do this by saying whether you want to collect or require. And you saw in my app that I was required to add a memo. That was required. I will be flagged if I didn't do that. I'll get reminded for that. But there was a job code there that wasn't required, but I was able to fill it out, right? Because I can see it there. I could have that collected for my administrator. So today I want to require something from my employees. I want them to fill in the project. But I want to add a condition to this. I don't want this from every employee. Not every employee even works on projects. So I can decide here the department, right? Only certain departments are required to add projects when they submit expenses. And so my users department, my employees department, is going to be my technicians because those are the ones working on projects. And so now this is done, right? All I need to do is click save here. And then whenever my technicians make a purchase in their Coast app, they're going to be reminded to submit that project. And that list of projects, again, is going to come, in this case, from QuickBooks Online, or from you, it might be another accounting system or a custom list that you want them to use. Okay, so now your employees have filled out their expenses, right? They're all done. The expenses have been put into the app. They've been coded. Your view now is going to be looking at exporting the spend. So this is the first, we're going to review it, the needs review area within Coast. You're going to be able to see all of your purchases. You can even add other filters like a receipt status. So I want to see anyone who hasn't submitted a receipt for an expense. And maybe I don't really care about fuel receipts. I only want to look at non-fuel purchases. So I can filter to those and I can look and see who's missing receipts. Coast is reminding them, but you know who the people are that probably don't listen. So here I can see I've got a couple here with no receipt. And this is one where it was required on the purchase. They just didn't submit it. So now I know who I need to go chase down because they're not listening to Coast. Hopefully they listen to you. Once you're happy with what you have in here, and I mentioned these are the other fields that we don't expose to the employees, but you can select here on your own. You can come in here, you can pick your accounting category, for example, and once you're happy with all this, you can export. I mentioned earlier too, you don't need to come through and categorize these one by one. You can if you like, but we can also automate this. So if you saw when I chose that option here, there's a button to automate. And so I can automate this accounting category to be filled out based on the rules that I set up. So I can set up things like anytime the category of purchase is a certain category, I want it to be coded a certain way. If a user or a group of users or a department or a merchant, you can really base it on anything within Coast and the data that we have to be able to automatically code these items so that when you come in here, everything is done. All you need to do is review it. Once you're happy with what you see here, you can mark it for export, and then we can push that directly into your accounting system if you have that live API connection with Coast. Otherwise, we'll have that custom export for you so that you can bring it directly into your system. So that is it. I'm going to wrap up the demo portion here. And let me get back to the presentation. There we go. All right. Whoop, starting from the beginning again. Here we go. All right. So we talked about virtual cards. We took a little view at a demo of the product from both the employee's perspective and from the administrator's perspective. I did mention we'd have Jen back on. So hopefully that kind of mirrors your experience, Jen. I don't know if there's any final thoughts that you want to share on your experience or day to day. I know we've got a couple new things coming for you as well.
Yes, no, I mean, everything. I mean, I can't thank you all enough because you guys are just a wonderful group to work with. I mean, the customer service is by far outstanding. I've never seen any. I mean, you call a credit card company and you're on hold for hours and you're getting the runaround. You're sent to every different department. I mean, if I have a question, I just literally send an email to what is it? I forgot what it's called.
Oh, support at Coast
What is it?
Pay. Or support at Coast Pay.
Yeah, the support at Coast. I just literally send an email and then they respond. And you can email back and forth and they're constantly responding. If you say give me a call, they'll give you a call, and you're not waiting days. And I mean, just the customer service alone is a reason to do this. And I couldn't be happier. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I couldn't be happier with it. And it's just saved me so much time. The guys in the field love it. They think it's a wonderful tool. It's easy for them. They don't have to try to keep track of their receipts and turn them in every week. And, a lot of the guys don't even come into the office every day. They're out in the field. So, yeah, just thank you for everything. It's been wonderful.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you hopping on today.
Thank you.
All right. So I see there's some questions in the chat. We can turn this over to a Q&A. I'm happy to answer here. There's one question here about points. So I'm assuming that you get points today. And you're looking to keep that or keep the points. Maybe the owner gets the points or they use them for travel or things like that. We hear that all the time. Today, we do not have points. However, it's something that is going to be released before the end of the year. So if you do earn points today, Coast is rolling out a Coast Rewards points program this year. And you'll be able to earn points across all of your spend for both fuel, which is pretty unique. I know there are a lot of fuel cards out there, and I'm not aware of any that do offer a points program, so you can earn points on that, but also on all of your regular credit card spend. They can be redeemed for travel, for flights, for some people use these things for gift cards for employees to reward employees for the holidays, or for saving them money, or maybe for submitting all the receipts on time. And then there's also going to be an option for statement credits and for PayPal and Venmo to actually um, withdraw cash from your points program. Let's see. One more. Let's see. What does the field collection look like on the card user side? Is it just notifications on their app to fill out, or do they receive text that they reply back? That's a good question. I did mention both. So your employee will receive, if they have the app, they will receive notifications via SMS. So they'll get a text message when they swipe that card that pops up. In that text, they can actually reply to the text with the description and the receipt that we can recognize immediately and just put into the expense for you. However, if you're requiring other fields, you're requesting other fields, there's going to be a link in that text that they get that they can click on, and they could submit all that information there. It takes them to a web page that's going to look just like the app for them to fill all that out. If they have the app, they're also going to get push notifications through the app, so they get pop-ups on their phone asking for a lot of information, and they can do it in the app. It's really up to the employee, their preference. Some folks like using the app. Other folks would rather just reply to the text with the receipt, but both are available for you. Any advice on what to do if your team isn't very tech savvy? All right, Jen's raising her hand here.
My guys are not very tech savvy. And so when I give them a card, when I initially set them up, what I would do is I would show them on their phone, because when they first get the card, they have to text hello to 33033, and then it tells them welcome, and they have to put in some information, and it's very simple information, and then they're ready to go. So then I show them what's going to happen, because I have, you can show them from your own phone or whatever, that this is how you do it. You just click on this link, you take the picture, you type it in. They really don't need to be super tech savvy to do this at all. And I showed it to them, they were on it. They're doing it just great. So it's definitely for the non-tech savvy people.
Yeah, everybody's got a phone at this point and has sent or received a text message. It's pretty simple, and you can see it going through the app. It's very quick. All right, I see one more question here from Olivia. Hey, I see that Visa is the name dropped, but the first slide we can see Amex card on the corporate card image. Does this mean we can also have Amex cards and transactions in Coast? So Coast is its own platform. The Amex card there is an example of a credit card. A lot of companies that we work with will use separate card programs initially, one for fuel, one for a credit card for the company, and then some actually do have software that they use like Expensify, Concur, etc., that they pay for on a per user basis to submit the same type of expense information that you can get through Coast. So that was there just as an example to say, like, you can combine all of this together into one platform. So we wouldn't be bringing in transactions from Coast or from other fuel card programs. Everything is built by Coast and exists within Coast. Okay, I see another question. Let's see. My meeting ran late, so I missed most of this. Was it recorded? I will find out. I believe we do have this recorded, and we'll find out what the distribution is like afterwards. Maybe we can get you a copy, I hope. Let's see, one from Scarlett here. If we prefer not to use QuickBooks integration, can field collection be used to group transactions per departments within different divisions? Example, all fleet logistics software transactions job code dropdowns when using on the East, West, North teams. Yes, yes, you can. So you do not need to use any of the integrations. If you have specific fields that you want to tag transactions with or code transactions to, you can do that. And you can still use those automations that we have within Coast to do that coding for you. So when you enter your people or your vehicles, if it's a vehicle related purchase, You're able to select different divisions, different locations, departments, so that you actually may not need to add any of this as fields in that accounting section because it's tagged to the person individually or that vehicle if it's a vehicle related spend. And so as we see spend for fleet, for example, or logistics in the Western team, we can automatically group that however you like or code that however you like with whatever custom field you want to name it to. Okay, I think we have time for a couple more questions. I think, let's see, maybe this will be the last one from Chelsea here. We only use this for fuel. What would be the best way to migrate to using it for other purchases? I swear that it was not planted, but I feel like it's a good transition to the next slide here. So if you're not using this for fuel, if you're not a Coast customer, head to coastpay.com. You can click apply now, see if you pre-qualify, and we'll get you set up. You can also email sales@coastpay.com. We can set up a demo for you to personalize this and walk you through what it would look like for you. If you are a Coast customer, you can drop interested in the chat. You can reach out to your account manager, or you can reach out to sales@CoastPay, and we'll get you set up. There's no additional cost to do this. There's, in most cases, no need to order new cards, unless, like Jen, you want to order a personalized card for some folks. Our team will help you onboard, will help you get your accounting set up, will help you set up new policies, expense policies for employees to buy other things. And it's quite simple to do, and we can set you up in about 30 minutes, especially if you're already a Coast customer. It's fairly easy. All right. I saw
I can add to that. When this was first presented to me, it was because my fleet and facilities manager was actually reached out to Coast about fuel cards, and we ended up not even really using it for fuel. We use it for everything else. So we do have people that purchase fuel on there, but most of our transactions are non-fuel. So, and you can just use the same card. So it's wonderful. They can use it for both.
Yeah, it's all in one, so you don't have to manage a couple different platforms and chase all this stuff down. It's really good to have visibility on the whole business in one place. I saw there's a couple other questions in the chat, but we're up at time, so we'll reach out after this to answer. This was great having you on, Jen. Really appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for joining, and thank you everybody else for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.